Today, we're unpacking a case that is just, well, wild. It all kicked off with an absolutely shocking claim. Hundreds of murders and secret burials in, of all places, a quiet temple town. This lit a fire that sparked a massive investigation, one that ended with a twist that, I promise you, nobody saw coming. And the search for the truth? Oh, it is far from over. So let's get right into it.
Everything started back in mid-2025, and it began with a claim so explosive, so unbelievable, that it immediately grabbed the attention of the entire country, right up to the highest levels of government.
I mean, just try to imagine hearing this for the first time. A complainant, with his face hidden, comes forward and alleges this horrifying secret, that hundreds of people hadn't just disappeared, they'd been murdered and secretly buried, for years. As you can guess, that single claim just set off a complete firestorm.
And the setting for all this? It was Dharmasthala, a really well-known temple town in Karnataka. Now, the whistleblower was eventually identified as C.N. Chinnaya. And get this, he was a former sanitation worker in the area. That little detail gave his claims this kind of insider's edge, you know? It meant the authorities absolutely had to take him seriously. Okay, so when an allegation this massive drops, you have to respond, right? And the official response had to be swift, it had to be thorough. The government didn't waste any time, they launched a high-profile investigation to figure out if these terrifying claims were true or not.
The whole thing followed a pretty clear process. First, the formal complaint was filed. That led the Karnataka government to create a special investigation team, or SIT. Then, the complainant himself, Chinnaya, actually guided this team to the exact spots where he claimed the bodies were buried. And with that, the digging began.
And this wasn't just some vague tip. No, the whistleblower pointed them to 13 very specific locations in the forest surrounding Dharmasthala, so the investigators knew exactly where to look. The stage was set for what everyone thought was going to be an incredibly grim discovery. And this, right here, is where the whole story takes a massive turn. After all that build-up, all the media attention, the focus finally shifted to cold, hard physical evidence. And what the investigators found, or maybe more importantly, what they didn't find, well, it changed everything. The difference between the claim and the reality was just staggering. The allegation was for hundreds of victims, buried in secret mass graves. But after digging up and searching all 13 of those sites, investigators found the remains of just one single male individual. The gap between the story and the science was absolutely immense. So let's break that down a little more. The SIT established 0 mass graves. At most of the 13 sites, they found literally nothing. No human remains at all. At maybe 1 or 2 of the spots, they found some partial remains, some bones, and forensic tests later confirmed all of those remains belonged to that one man. The physical evidence just wasn't there to back up the original story. So, with the evidence clearly not lining up with the claims, the investigation took a pivot, and it went in a direction that I don't think anyone could have predicted. The focus shifted away from the supposed murderers and turned right on to the accuser himself.
And here it is, the big twist. On August 23rd, the special investigation team arrested the very man who started the entire thing. The whistleblower, C.N. Chinnaya, was suddenly the one in police custody. It was a stunning turn of events that completely flipped the script on this case.
And he wasn't just brought in for questioning, he was facing a very serious criminal charge: perjury. For anyone who doesn't know, that's the crime of willfully lying under oath. It means the authorities believed he wasn't just mistaken, but that he was deliberately lying to them.
And what was the perjury charge based on? It was directly tied to a piece of evidence he himself had provided. Chinnaya had presented a skull to the court as proof, but when investigators pressed him on where he got it, his story kept changing. They cited these conflicting accounts of its origin as the main reason for the charge, suggesting he was trying to mislead the whole investigation. So, after all these insane twists and turns, where does this leave us? I think it's really important right now to separate what has been confirmed as fact from what remains just an allegation. So, let's do that. Okay, so here's the rundown. On the verified side of things, the facts are these. The SIT definitely searched all 13 sites. They found the remains of one person. No mass graves have been found, and the whistleblower was arrested for alleged perjury. Simple. Now, on the unproven side, well, that's a longer list. The core claim of hundreds of murders is still just that, a claim. We have no idea what the motive for these allegations might be, and any involvement of powerful people? Total speculation at this point. You might be wondering,
Why did this story get so big in the first place? Well, it's because Dharmasthala isn't just any town. It's a huge religious center, and these allegations touched on this raw nerve where faith, power, and politics all intersect. It was just the perfect storm for a national media frenzy.
And this is so important to remember. This case is not closed, not by a long shot. The SIT's investigation is still very much ongoing. We're still waiting on final forensic reports, and their official final conclusions haven't been released yet. So this story is still being written.
And that really leaves us with this huge, fundamental question, doesn't it? This whole case has been a real-time lesson in what happens when a sensational, explosive story goes head-to-head with forensic reality. It kind of forces all of us to ask, when you're in the middle of a media storm, and the claims and the evidence are telling you two completely different stories, how on earth do you find the truth?